Alright, so I wanted to make this video now that work has been completed, and as it continues to be completed, give an update. So, mechanic and I worked on this thing all weekend, Saturday, Sunday. I'd probably say 2, 9, 10 hour, going on 11-hour days to complete this. And the project at hand was reshimming the engine, repairing 2 motor mounts that were broke, and replacing a gearbox. So I'll start with the motor mounts. The mounts on the flywheel side were good, but needed to be reshimmed and have new rubber vibration dampeners put under them. This is one of the ones from the flywheel side. You can see it's compressed and there's nothing left of it. These broke mounts, these came from the radiator side, and they have been broke for years. Every part of this project, even the easy stuff, it fought us every step of the way, but adapt and overcome, I suppose. So what we figured out, what caused these mounts to fail, was a combination of incorrect shims and incorrect mounts being used, or vibration dampeners being used. There's 2 kinds of vibration dampeners. There's a hard and a soft. And soft ones go under the radiator end of the engine. Everything on the flywheel side is hard. So I'm going to say maybe late 90s, somebody attempted to replace the mounts under the radiator. I'm sure these are the factory mounts, but they reshimmed it and they used the hard pucks. We pulled them out, and one of them here, see where it says H? Parts guy, Jeff Payton, he always marks these. So I know exactly where these hockey pucks come from, and these were the wrong firmness, I guess you could say, of rubber. Everything was too stiff. They had steel on steel, and it shattered the mounts. Climb up in here. So it took about 1.5 to 2 years to source all these parts. As you can see, there is a gap underneath here, and the bar floats in between. That is because this is shimmed correctly, and there are shims that also go between the mount. So the mount is a hard clamp, and the engine floats on those rubber hockey pucks in between. We spent probably a good half of the day getting these out, cleaning them up, reinstalling them, reshimming them, figuring out what was wrong, what the previous people did. That mount was also a pain. We spent probably 2 hours trying to get the old mount apart, and when we finally did, we got it reinstalled and taken care of. Still need to go through the injectors on this Murphy diesel. That will be a thing for another day. But because those mounts went bad, it caused the engine to sit at a funny angle in the back of this cab. And with all that vibration, somebody just running it and running it and running it. Get a good view here of how the motor floats in between the mounts. They ran it right into the ground, and they burned up all the gears in this gear case. The first gear was the worst, second being second worst, third being third worst. We wanted to reuse this third gear because it was still in really good shape. However, the gear case that I sourced come from a 28D Northwest with the updated gear case. And with the updated gear case comes design changes, and the gears and bearing design are completely different between a 25 and a 28D. It might interchange with a 25D depending on what model year you have. But needless to say, we had to swap the entire case over and adapt the big gear from the 28D case onto the shaft of the regular 25 case. It was no easy task. As you can see, these covers are still off. These covers were left behind. We forgot them. They are at the mechanic's shop. He's going to get them out to me. This cover, because the shaft extends further than the shaft on the 28D case, requires some machining. You got to mill off about 3/8 of an inch to get the cover to go in and seat correctly. And all these covers do is they support these outer shafts, and the bearings, they give the bearings something to be supported by. The gear and the load is supported by the bearing, but the outer part of the shaft that doesn't spin is supported by the outside of the cover. So I have to cover these for a week while I wait on the covers to get shipped to me. But I will show you the way this case goes together. You have a flex coupling or a rag joint here, and what that does is it transmits the power from the engine to the transmission case. And luckily for us, the case was a direct bolt-on fit for the most part. There is only one bolt that will not pass through between a 28 and a 25 case, and that is to this, I would say it's like a through case. This one large bolt will not go through, but you have so many other bolts that support it, you don't really have to worry about this one bolt. This bolt here with the castle on it and this bolt here with the castle on it are dowels. They go through and they are a hard friction fit between this flange and the case to align it. The case on the 28D case is longer, so the dowels are short. I'm going to get a thin washer and a jam nut to replace these so I don't have this sticking out. Does that matter at the end of the day? No, it really doesn't, but for my sake of cleaning it up, I'm going to do that. The rest of it is pretty much a direct fit. Now, as far as these gears being a little bit larger in diameter, it is going to change the drawworks speed ratio to the engine just a shade. The 25 was known as being a little bit on the slow side. The 25D was faster. The 28D was faster yet, but we think it will be around 25D speeds. So everything as far as drum shaft speeds, reversing shaft speeds, everything should be acceptable within a tolerance. I've left this cover off of the flywheel here because when I do the injectors, I'm going to need to get at, I'm going to have to get at these indexing marks. See, there's a 2 there and the plunger, so I can properly time the stroke of each injector when I change the O-rings to set the speed on the Murphy. And I believe this engine is governed at around 1,000 RPMs. Have to look in the book. But yeah, this was a 2-day endeavor. Really, it's a 3-day ordeal to get everything buttoned up, done right. Everything was done to the best of our mechanical abilities, and it will hold up for longer than I will ever be alive. You know, were these parts made to go together? No. Is everything straight? Is everything assembled correctly? Yes. These cranes don't spin at crazy speeds. And for use on the farm here, it's going to be just fine. So, with that being said, I'm going to get this all covered up. I got a little bit of painting to do. When we did the motor mounts to support the radiator end, we had to torch a hole in the roof, run a chain down, and pick the engine up. There was no moving of the engine required. It stayed right in place, and we just did one mount at a time. So, it's fixed up, almost ready to go back in service. Just a little bit left to do. and the vibration is gone. The engine just floats in those mounts beautifully. It's fixed. Well, I got everything tarped up. Should keep the water and the weather out for a week. I'd just like to conclude the video with a huge thank you to the guy that come out, drove 3 hours, helped me for 2 days straight. I appreciate everything that he did for me. So, hope to have him back one of these days. But for now, the Northwest 25 is fixed, and there will be future videos on it working.